Hello and welcome again. We are at Millie's Hallmark and we are Showcase Displays. We're going to be putting on a little bit of a class today, and Stefan is going to start by introducing what he's already done on these two projects.
Great, thank you, Chris. So I brought in a couple of small Halloween vignettes. I like working on small displays because you can get your head around it and you can create a bigger display just by having multiple sections. These displays are kind of a standard size because I ship a lot of stuff and I know what size ships best and at reasonable cost. And it's actually the same size as this stack of foam here. And what I'm going to do, at least that's the plan, is as part of the new Halloween displays we're going to be building here, I'm going to include them into the display as kind of like lift and shift sections that, 3 months from now I could take that section out and replace it with something else so there's changes in the display. So these are actually pretty simple to build. All you have to do is stack some foam and do a little design. And I wanted to build in some lights in there, so you can see this one here has a green light for the kind of the slimy little area. And then both of these are just LED bulbs, so they don't overheat, but I did leave a lot of room around it so it's not like encased into the foam. So as soon as you plug them in, they're on. And then this one here, I did a little bit of a shadow box. Chris actually built shadow boxes for me out of wood, and they're really cool with multiple frosted glasses that gives you the illusion of mist and depth. But those are kind of hard to ship, so I decided to do it in the foam. So I put like a frosted plexi in there, and I decided to put like a little oddity in there. So I went on eBay and I looked at some oddities out there, and this guy had this doll head that he found deep in the Pennsylvania woods that's been sitting there for a long time. And you could tell it was severed because it's all cracked, it's not just popped off. And there was no other doll parts around, so it's like creepy, right? So I got the doll head. My wife saw it, said, "Oh, get that thing out of here." And it's got like a night straight, a night this way, and it's really creepy. So I decided to put it in there and put a flickering flame bulb just so that it kind of gives you that little glow. And then just some moss and other things just to give it something kind of fun to do. So anyway, so you should see these two in the display that should be installed at the end of March when all the new pieces are coming in. So today we're actually going to use the same size displays but in a vertical fashion just to kind of show something different. Vertical is not something I do a lot because it's a little bit complicated to design, but sometimes you go into a store or a showroom and they have like an opening in the wall and they want that to be a display, so you kind of have to build it like that as opposed to all stacked little foam. The advantage of vertical carving, if you will, is that you don't have all these seams of multiple sheets of foam because it's all one wall and we're just going to take away from it. So the disadvantage is that it's a little bit harder to kind of design. So Chris was kind enough to take a design I kind of drafted up last night, and I'm going to be doing a stand-up display, and he's going to be doing it this way, but they're both going to be what I call vertical displays. So something new to try, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this should be fun.
Should be fun. So
have you noticed any additional paranormal activity since you brought that doll's head?
I've been dreaming about babies a lot for some reason. But yeah, it's that thing that's got dirt on it, and it's like, oh, this is cool. But I was the only one in the house who actually liked the thing. So now it's going to be at Millie's. Okay, about the design a little bit.
Yeah, do you want to start with yours and then I'll move on to mine?
Yes, okay. All right, good. All right, so for this display, last night I kind of sat there and kind of started thinking about it. So the way that you have to think about it is we're going to have 6 layers of foam, 12 inches of depth to work with. So I took the first layer and I figured out, okay, how many layers do I need to remove to get what I want? So you can see this archway here is going to be a 0. So it's going to be all the way at the front. Then I'm going to take out 3 layers, 6 inches. So I have a big hole in here, okay, so I can put a house down here. But here at the top, it's going to be 6 inches further, right? So I have room for another house there, a little bit more recessed. And then it's going to go up here where it's 4 layers out, and then at the top. So it may be a big fail, we'll see what happens, but I have this in my head, we'll see what happens. So I should be able to put 1, 2, 3, 4 houses on this small little 18-inch footprint. Chris?
So mine is pretty similar. it works a similar way. The key thing to both of these displays, I think, is that it's kind of interesting when you're doing a vertical display like this. You're kind of playing with negative space in a way that this is a complete standalone display, but it's also, it kind of looks like a snapshot out of a much larger display, right? So we both have arches that are incomplete because, like Stefan said, they may be intended to like kind of plunk into like a shadow box on the wall or whatever. So you don't necessarily, you can kind of play with the fact that this is going to be like for an enclosed space a little more. So we both got like incomplete arches. This one in particular is also going to be 12 inches deep, and it's going to have 3 big voids where there's going to be 8 inches of foam removed, and then 2 smaller voids where there's going to be 6 inches of foam removed, and then on top there's only going to be 2 layers of foam removed. So I should be able to fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on mine, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So it's a little bit bigger in terms of like the number of buildings you can fit, but it also takes up a slightly more awkward space. So we're just gonna kind of give it a go and see where this takes us.
Yes. So one subtlety is that you can't glue your layers down until you're done cutting your stuff, because otherwise it's going to be tough to play with. So it's a little bit of a puzzle that you kind of put together at the end, versus the flat sheets where you can kind of just play with it as you go. This one requires a bit more planning. So by the next Saturday, your assignment is to create one of these and send me photos. Now they're not that hard, it's just that you need to plan it a bit.
Right.
So, all right, off we go.
Off we go.
Off we go. Okay. Good luck, Chris. Okay. So
I'm going to start with the bow cutter. Are you going to use that at all?
No, you go for it.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to start with my bottom area. Did that make sense, by the way, what we talked about? Or it's like completely like, these guys are nuts.
I think it'll make more sense once they see it. So, for example, when we say that we're going to remove 4 layers of foam here, what I'm actually doing is starting with 4 layers of foam, and I'm just going to cut all of them at once. When I say I'm going to remove 3 layers of foam, I'm going to take that 4th layer off, and then I'm going to cut that area. When there's only 2 layers of foam removed, then I'm only going to have the 2 layers of foam, and I'm going to cut that area out. Does that make a little more sense?
All right, off we go. So you see this one is a -1, so I'm just taking the first layer, which is my design template, and cutting 1 layer. I started before Chris because he's going to use the bow cutters. He'll be done in 10 minutes. Okay, so doesn't show much. Now you can see what I mean by that, right? And then I'm going to take 3 layers out of this one because I want to fit a house in there. And this concludes this presentation. All right. Now, when we're done with it, we might not do it in this class, but if you don't like having a house sitting on the table itself, you can put, a flat piece at the bottom and glue that on your piece of foam so that you have a finished piece. But sometimes people have a really nice table and it's fine to have the house straight on it. And there goes Chris.
This is a little bit tricky because we're cutting vertically. The pieces of foam are sitting vertically. You want a nice straight cut so that your building has something nice and straight to sit on.
Okay, this here, make sure they're aligned. Put these 3 here together. So by using the long knife, I'm able to go three layers deep.
when you're doing several layers like that,
Yep.
would it be more convenient to put like 2 or 3 drops of hot glue so that they don't slide or move on you?
That's a good idea, because then you can pop them off at the end.
Right.
So yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea.
What kind of glue? Hot glue?
You could use hot glue. I'm pretty fond of using like the bamboo skewers.
Chris is rocking there.
I'm just hoping I'm doing it right. This will be a real short trip.
Darlene, am I going through?
No, now you are.
Okay.
That's the first time you poked through. Other than that, no.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I was wondering, I'm like, oh, I don't see anything.
I don't see anything. That's okay. I can take the last layer and just kind of finish it off real quick. Okay. This off. This one off. This one. If you were here last class, and maybe it's on the video, I did bring a North Pole one that was a vertical display and it had a little backdrop. So that was a finished example. Tomorrow I'll be installing a new North Pole section here because New England is going away. So we're going to take away New England, move Alpine where New England is, and extend North Pole by about 3 feet. Since it's a very popular village and it seems to be growing more and more. Does anybody here subscribe to Village Delights magazine? All right. I understand there was a confusion on the credits, so apparently Addie's and Darlene's displays got miscredited, but it looks great.
You had more bounty than I did anyway.
Did you have bounty?
Yeah, I had bounty too.
For these 2 sections of foam, we plan to do just like a staircase, just kind of for show to get up to the top layer. So I'm going to use the bow cutter to kind of go on the outside of the stairs, and then I'll finish with one of the knives like what Stefan is using.
Okay, and then we're going to carve this all up. We should have time to paint this. I'm going to paint this one more Dickens style and his more North Pole style. So I'm going to take one out here. Who's got displays up right now? Anybody?
Yeah,
You always do, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got used to it. I just finished them.
I know, me too. I got a whole room of it.
No, I want to see the door. My husband's like, get it down.
Oh, no.
It's usually the last thing
Yes,
to
I
take
have
down
that
because
too.
it takes the longest.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut this one here. This one actually has a staircase. So I'm going to follow, I'll make it a little smaller steps. Take this out.
It's taking so long, bud.
You're almost done. Okay, got that going here.
I think I got it right.
I'm sure you did.
So I have space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings and a couple accessories, maybe some trees up here. This is going to be a staircase, and then this is going to also be a staircase where I use the routing tool to kind of carve the staircase out of here up to about that point, and then I'll take that little negative, flip it around, and the staircase will actually stick out in the front to give it a little more depth. Do you want the bow cutter for anything?
Most fun part. Yeah, your stairs are looking pretty good, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's coming. Okay, so take this off.
Do we have a router? We do.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. This stuff on the cord. This off. Like that.
Are you rolling? Just for a second, I want to talk about the tools. We've been using knives and the bow cutter so far. Now I'm going to carve a set of stairs that are kind of inset into the foam, and I'm going to use the routing tool to do it. It's a bendable wire. I think it's probably around 18 gauge. So it kind of holds its form a little bit better than something like a sculpting tool, which is just a very narrow wire. And you just want to make sure that you bend the wire before it gets hot.
Did you?
I did this time.
Okay, take this out. And I'm going to do a staircase on this one.
Stairs are kind of a pain, but it always adds a nice touch of realism when the little tiny people can get where they need to go. How did that elf manifest itself up there? Well, he dropped in from the ceiling.
Did you just shut me off there?
Oh, did I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you took my tool.
Oh, is that right? Do you need
Oh,
this?
no. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
We got a pro thing down here, don't we? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can use a pro for that one. Cut my stairs. Has anybody ever worked on a vertical display? No? Like, you crazy? The biggest one I've done, and I don't know why, but was probably about 4 feet by 4 feet. And it was a little bit of a nightmare to design, but it looked really nice at the end.
How big was the Grinch one you had in the front window?
Oh, the Grinch. Well, the Grinch in the front with the big mountain thing.
Yeah.
So that one was 7 feet tall, but it wasn't foam. It was all shaper sheet. I mean, there was a foam structure behind it, but the covering of it was all shaper sheets from Woodland Scenics, and then covered with snow and glitter, because it would have been a lot of carving, and it just, the shaper sheet just did the job better for me. So, and then I kind of did the inside of the mountain so that we could put the big Grinch figure in there. But yeah, it was all shaper sheet, which was nice because once I did the foam structure, the shaper sheet took me less than an hour to wrap the whole thing around, which, you know, carving would have taken me at least, 3 or 4 hours to sit there and carve it. So that was pretty nice. All right, so we've got that here. Take this off there.
I'm not really sure how to let you guys see what I'm doing and do it at the same time, so I'll just kind of show you the finished product. So I'm just taking the router, I drop in from the top, I go down about a half an inch, out about a half an inch, down, out, and then I made sure to preserve what was left over after the cut so that I can use that as an additional set of stairs and add a little more depth to the display.
Kudos to Chris, by the way, because he gets no preview of that ahead of time. He showed up here and I said, Chris, how about this? And he's like, ah, sure, let's do it. So, you see, it's really not that
It
hard.
really is that easy.
Bam. Okay. Here's where we are with this one. And we are pretty much ready to glue stuff together and then carve it to make it look less like a block. Okay, all right.
I don't know, I kind of like mine on its back. What do you think?
Oh, it looks good this way. Yeah, you could have a house up here.
Yeah!
Dang. Okay. Okay, so there's with everything cut off. House, another house, another house. Typically, unless you're doing Halloween or Snow Village, if you have 6 inches, you can accommodate most houses. Because all the Dickens, we have a whole bunch there. Typically that will fit. But if you're working Snow Village or Halloween, you gotta move this to 8, sometimes 10 inches, because they're big. So, okay.
Cool. I am also at the gluing stage, so this should be fun, sharing the glue gun.
Go ahead. I gotta cut.
Before you glue the entire thing together, it may be a good time to start thinking about wiring. For example, Stefan and I had discussed, I think I may just punch a couple of holes in the back. And I prefer to do that before I glue it together, just to...
Okay, sure.
Go, marker, bud.
I believe in the box. Let me just check real quick. See, everything's taken out. I don't, Chris.
Okay.
Do you?
Oh, Sarah's got one. Thank you.
As always, prepared. Good. I think I am going to glue this together and then do my electrical. And then I've got a set of lampposts that I think might be nice to include. This is kind of like a little walkway here. I've got the newspaper guy and newspaper stand, and maybe put some lampposts over here. So got to think about that. But because it's not so deep, we can figure it out. Right?
Yep.
Actually, no, we'll start with that.
You can have the glue gun. I'm gonna
Yeah, okay.
do this first, and then we can flip it.
Sounds good. Now, I'm gonna plan for this real quick.
Well, I just turn
Okay. Do you need this? Or
it on. Might. I don't know.
you can use.
I think the tool might be dying.
Oh, okay. This one should be good. And it's already. I think it's already plugged into power source 2. It works because it doesn't run on windmills. Okay.
Texas burn.
Oh no. Oh. Just making a hole for the cord for my lamp post. Since this is 10 inches deep here, I want to make sure I can get there. Do that. you're doing the holes for the houses?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put a couple of holes in the backdrop straight to the back, and I'm gonna try to hide most of the holes behind the foam that I've already started, and then I can just kind of dip into this one a little bit.
Okay. How are we doing on time? Good? Oh, good. Okay. One last assembly before we glue this together. Make sure I didn't screw things up. Carve this. Yeah? Yeah. We do have another glue stick if we
Okay, good.
need to. Screw it up. Let's screw it up, guys. Good.
I'm just glad it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Do you need help?
No, that's good. Just a small. It was like that house in San Jose. Do you guys know that house from the gun manufacturer?
Winchester House?
Yes,
I
yes,
went to
yes.
that.
So,
Scares to nowhere.
yeah. Apparently the wife just, the house was always in construction. But she would add staircases that just ended to a wall with no door, and she.
What was the name of that painter? MC Escher? With the staircase that just keeps going forever?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The illusion thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's what was happening with my thinking. Okay.
I like to number the levels so that I know what order they go in,
Yeah.
so I don't get confused.
Do you glue your layers together?
Well, eventually I do, but when
Yeah.
I'm working on it, I number them maybe underneath or inconspicuously, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise.
Yeah, if you're doing a flat display like that, you know, a lot of people don't actually glue it together, or they use skewers like Chris was talking about to hold it together, and then just maybe easier to store. This one's a bit different because I've got the, you know, shadow box in there, so kind of neat to have its thing, but
They're the one we had.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I remember those sections, so I knew where to put them.
Right, right. Yeah, because they're working with
ready?
you know?
Well, this
No.
one, you take it down.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Are we?
I think I want to carve this before we glue it together.
Oh, okay, okay.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. You're putting glue. Or not.
At some point it becomes like a race, like oh, Chris, I'm looking at Chris like, oh. The stick is kind of heavy.
End of the line?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
kind of, ooh. It's seen better days. I've got somewhere.
So what I was just telling Stefan is, and we mention this every time, but some people haven't been here every time. Sometimes it's easier to carve things before you glue them together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these 4 sheets together, the ones that have the elevations built in, and then I'm going to carve the undersides where I don't have to deal with the back sheets.
Did that make any sense to you? It makes sense to me. Okay. What's happening, Chris? I don't know what's happening, but it's happening.
Something's happening.
Something's happening. And this is going to get carved up. Some rock carving. Can I use
You can use whatever you want.
whatever you okay? This out of this in here. I'm not using this. Do you still need this for stairs, or
Nope.
no? I can reshape.
I'm
it?
just going to use the whatever this is called.
Okay. So for this, I'm gonna do like natural rock carvings in the back of the arches here. This I'm gonna do more like brick, because it's more like man-made. And then again, some rock carving, and see what the heck it looks like. So,
I'm going to use the sculpting tool, and I'm going to just kind of scallop the edges a little bit, just to kind of dress it up.
okay, Chris.
I agree. On these archways, I'm not going to spend a ton of time and energy making them look perfect, because really people aren't going to be looking under there to see what this carving looks like. I just don't want these seams to show. I don't want it to look like I left it half done.
So that's the nice part. No seams, right? So it's all one foam sheet, and really nice to carve this way.
This is the part where no matter how far ahead I was, Stefan always catches up. He's much faster at this part than I am.
Usually end up around the same time.
You just gotta be careful you don't cut through. Huh?
Don't have to worry too much about how deep I go, because I've got 4 inches there and more in the other spots, so it's pretty good. I'm going to round up this staircase so that it doesn't like go right angle like that. Kind of round it up here. Okay, and then start carving this here. I kept the tool shape just the way Chris had it for his staircases, because I like that corner, that straight edge, but I hit it kind of like this way, but you can also kind of move your tool around so that you avoid the pattern kind of thing. So it's not like the same thing unless that's what you want. But I kind of like to move it around. Chris also mentioned, you know, if you're tight on time, usually you're not tight on time or doing a display, but if you want to cut corners, you know, you can always think about, well, you're going to have a house here, right? So you're going to see the upper part of this, not much in the center, so you could kind of like, cut quickly, but here I think we have time to
Agreed.
go to the end. I'm going to paint mine with brown tones. I've got two different colors, similar to the display, the Dickens display we have here. And Chris will just be, I think, some blue and white.
Yep.
You know, a little bit of accent.
Just try to cover all the Sharpie marks that I
Yeah.
don't carve out.
Make sense so far? Okay. Pretty repetitive, but it's pretty quick. Now I'm down to just the bottom area, and then I'm going to do some brick action there. You can see as I rush through, I'm kind of bending my tool there, so I gotta take it a little easy. If you do that too many times, you know, like any wire, eventually it's gonna snap right here. I'm not going to focus too much on the sides, just so that we get to the end of this, but I could do that later on, because I think we'll bring these displays back, just like the Crayola one we did last class. I didn't finish it and bring it back because we don't have the Crayola building yet, which should be here for next class. So we're going to bring it back with the Crayola building accessory. Chris has built these giant crayons, and so we'll show it finished. How's it going, Chris?
Good, man.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, it's going all right.
Oh, were you talking about my display?
Yeah. But I do care about how you're
I just
doing.
thought we were catching up.
Okay, all right. And we're probably going to do a little bit more just to kind of round the display a bit more, because this area here doesn't have to be that big. So I'm going to chop a little bit here. Okay, a little cleanup. More straight. gets rid of my marker lines.
Like Stefan, I'm just gonna use it to kind of ease some edges a little bit.
So it just helps a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to do some brickwork with this little straight knife.
Easing the edges is nice because there's a lower tendency to chip off corners later as well.
So I'm just doing a line about a 1/2 inch around the arch. You don't need to go too deep because the deeper you go, the harder it is to paint it. So you could use the engraver as well, but this one is a little quicker. And you don't have to worry about being perfect. I think when it's perfect, it looks too perfect. Does that make sense?
That's the way craftsmen were back then.
Yeah, that's right.
They were perfect.
They were perfect. Well, I could do it. No, I don't think I could do it perfect. And then now I'm just going to do about 1/2 inch little stones around it. It's a pretty quick process. Can't see it well until you paint it, obviously. And your arches are more like caves and
Right.
North Polish. Doing a lot. We have well, we all have, I think, a water pressure regulator valve at home. And when people were taking showers at home, the thing would go like, and like, oh, something is going to happen here. So eventually, after like a month, I called the plumber, and he says, yeah, your pressure was going from 100 to 25, and like the whole thing was like, so, and I was like, maybe I should change this. Too much pressure in the pipes. So one thing off the list, Chris. Another $300 spent on things you don't want to spend.
Right.
But that's all right. Gotta do what you gotta do. This one I did more like a random stone, instead of a brick thing. So just random stone just to change it up a bit. So now, I'm gonna make my staircase also carved up like stone, like it's been built into the. You using this now?
No, I'm
Not
on my
anymore?
own. No, I'm on my own.
Okay. So I'll just change that a bit. Here, obviously, you try to not cut away too much of your staircase, but just to kind of make it blend into carving here.
You can always tell when I get bored of cutting bricks because the blocks get bigger and bigger and bigger. This needs 2 blocks. Yep. These are real big.
That. Okay. All right. I'm going to do some holes for my houses, cords, thingies. Now, even though, the cord is under the house, it's much easier to go this way. because you can do that anyways. See if we can go through. Is that my?
I was having trouble with the long knives.
Ooh.
The tips were like they were hot, but like the tips weren't burning through.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a week ago this thing was glowing red just at the tip, just like E.T.'s finger. Like, oh, but it was like going through like butter. Going through, Darlene?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Trying to find where
That
he had last.
knife is 6 inch, so it's exactly, so you kind of have to push it just a little bit. There it is. One over here. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're good. We're gonna have time to paint this thing. Woo! And then this one here, I can just do kind of a little arch down here. Okay, I already have a hole for my lampposts. Can't put them on until everything is painted because I don't want to paint the lampposts. So I'll set those aside, and then I'm going to do a little bit of flattening here. Do this outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the status, Chris?
I think I might be done.
Wow.
I know. It's like we planned this or something.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna do the same thing Stefan did. I'm gonna knock these marks off with the.
And you already
sanding
explained
block.
about the negative edge, the negative image.
Yeah. I think I knocked them on the floor though.
Well, I think I'm gonna paint.
Okay. Do you want to take a break and?
Yeah, if you guys are okay with it, we'll take like a. Okay. Doing a full coat, going into the brick lines as much as possible. And then I'll come back with a lighter color.
Starting with a base coat of white, since this is a North Pole display. And if there are sections that are like fully white already, I don't really have to hit them again. So I'm just going to try to get into the block work, cover any lines that we made when we were marking it up, and then see what else needs paint.
And I'm not doing the sides because I'm going to recarve the sides
Okay.
off-side, so.
I think I'm running out of white paint.
Oh, really? Uh-oh, it's the only one I brought.
Well, then this may be a very blue display. And I'm going to hit basically the high spots, some of the edges. I'm going to try to accent the block a little bit with the blue so you can see it better. But I ran out of white paint, so it's kind of hard to tell how this one's going to turn out. This one's gonna have a lot of snow on it, buddy.
All good. Okay, so we took some time and we went outside and painted the displays. We used some Liquitex professional spray paint, water base. It works well on the foam. It dries really quickly. Chris used simply some white and some blue, and I used burnt umber and burnt umber number 4. So I started with the darker one, a complete coat, making sure I went through the little grooves as much as possible. And then came back with just kind of a powdering of the lighter color to just make it pop a little bit. My next step will be to include the lamppost like Chris is doing for his, and put a little bit of woodland scenic snow, because I want something finer than the big chunks of snow. And then what about you, Chris?
We actually ran out of white paint, so I had to go a little bit overboard with the blue to kind of cover up some of the markings and seams, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to give it a nice dusting of snow to kind of mute that blue a little bit. And like Stefan, I'm putting a set of lamp posts in my display, and I used a cutting tool to just kind of route a little edge, just a little channel in the top where I can hide the cords. And then once that's done, I can move on to the snow stage.
Excellent. I'm gonna do the same thing and create a little, sorry Chris,
No, you're fine.
a little groove for
This
my,
one's,
oh, this one's got, okay, cord in there, because you have that cord in between, so I want to hide that.
it's always easier to run the cord before you glue everything down. Is the glue gun still hot?
I believe it is. All right. Cord in there.
Sometimes once I've got the cord in the little channel that I've routed, I'll just put a couple of dots of glue along the channel just to make sure it doesn't pop back out.
Still wearing my mask.
Oh,
When she's saying anything.
sorry. You sounded a little muffled.
I did.
Don can do a picture of your face on top of it.
Like Don, he'll go to Jib Jab or whatever and superimpose
Yeah.
somebody else on me.
He's here, then we're gonna use some snow and some trees. That. I'm gonna
Did
borrow
your
that.
friend
Yep.
Jerry?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. She's spending her money.
Where is our snow? Should we? I just go and grab a bag.
Yeah, if you're gonna use the D56 now. All right, I'm gonna glue that on here so they don't keep flapping around. Now usually I test them before I glue them on. Didn't. So we're gonna test them now. Okay, here we go. Maybe. Yay! Good. Let's try Chris's. Oh. Oh, yes. This is the North Pole ones. Still have a box attached. It's one of the last remaining D56 item that doesn't have a detachable box. But you know, if you're a little handy, Mike Sanders and these guys, you can snip it off and make your own connection if you don't like having that box attached. But I think that's the lot. Maybe there's one more Halloween piece, the skeleton sitting with the lamppost. I think it might have one of these. Okay, tested. They work.
Nice.
Okay.
I may just glue it on the back.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to go ahead and, just like Chris, put a little bit of glue in there. Because once I build in my lampposts, they're not coming up. They're there to stay. Now, at home, I'm going to carve the sides, paint it, bring it back.
Do we have any super
Yeah, right?
nice? This is the real reason why Stefan always has me do the North Pole displays. Is you can hide a lot of mistakes with some snow.
No, Chris. Can I borrow your Sharpie for a sec? Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
I was having fits with the paint out there. The white ran out. The blue was
The blue spattered.
spattering everywhere.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna give it a little. I want to soften this a little bit. It's brown and it's kind of a lot. I don't want to put the chunky snow. So like I said, I'm gonna use this, which is more like a powder. You could use even like baking soda. It works. It's like nice snow. Don't use sugar. It could attract all kinds of unwelcome beasts. All right. So. And for this, I typically kind of try to mist it from the top because I'm going to drop the snow from the top to look like a snowfall, as opposed to have it laying down. Ooh, sorry, Chris.
I'd respond, but my mouth is glued closed.
Just a little mist. Okay. And then a little bit of that. And put some in your hand or a piece of paper. Blow it on, don't inhale. I've done it before. We're going to move on to some trees a little bit.
Trees and buildings.
Trees and buildings. Giving you about half there, Chris. I'll take the brown one though.
Yeah, that makes more sense for you.
The fun part of dressing it up. Let's go ahead and plug our things in here.
Beautifully with that. The gingerbread.
Okay, we call it done, Chris.
Hi.
Okay, so in what, an hour and a half, 2 hours? You can
Yeah.
build a couple of displays,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
See?
Yeah.
As long as you spent an hour and a half planning the night before.
But hopefully this helps gives you a different way. Now, there's no reason why you couldn't do this with stacked foam. We could do the same thing, but if you get the hang of it, it actually looks pretty nice to have it done vertically like that and we're fitting quite a number of buildings in a small footprint. Chris could easily, you know, add a nice mountain backdrop there, same with me, or some big trees back there.
Right.
So there's more we could do with this, but
They're kind of like a little bit modular, and then because the arches aren't finished, you could make another section to it. You could even probably put this one next to that one with a
A little
little
quicker to build.
barrier in between them to break it up a
yeah,
little
to
bit.
break it up, yeah. And like Addie was mentioning, if you don't like this unfinished arch, you know, you could just like make this arch bigger, so it's just one symmetrical arch. But this is just to kind of give you the illusion of a bigger scene. So another suggestion that was given was you could use for the flat surfaces, you could use a wire brush, one of those stiff wire brush, and just brush the whole thing on the flat surfaces. It will even them out and actually give them a texture and put your pieces on it. So this ended up being even enough, but it would be a good way to just even the whole thing out. We had done before a display out of a wire brush outside because it's a giant mess when you do that, and it's a nice finish. But hopefully this helps give you some ideas of what can be done
Absolutely.
in a different way.
Yes, please.
You can close it out, Chris.
Yeah.
You know the date of the next class? April
It's
17th?
April 17th.
Yeah,
Okay.
That would be hard to do.
Thank you so much. Once again, we are Showcase Displays, and this is Millie's Hallmark. The date of our next class is April 17th, so if you can't be here in person, for obvious reasons, we will be available to watch on YouTube. Stefan will have the link. If you have any questions or are curious about the new Department 56 releases, please give the store a call at 480-893-3777.